Well. Welcome back to the West Ham Network for your matchday review, highlights and words, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it was a bit of an impromptu show. I wasn't planning to come on and do a review, but I feel like I had a few things I wanted to get off my chest in particular. So if you are just joining us, you've probably watched the game. You've had a chance to dissect what has gone on, and West Ham got beat by Nottingham Forest 1-0 at the City Ground. And I have got a lot to get off my chest, but I also want it to be a place where you can come and voice your opinion as well. So I'm going to give you the voice and the opportunity to come on and have a little bit of a chin wag with myself if you're up for it. So what I will do is I'll put the link in the chat and you can come on. And if you are around, I'll probably just give everyone a good solid 5 minutes to get their things, anything off their chest that they want to do as well. So I have put the link in the chat, but we'll get started with the first thing, which is first, and that was the team news. And this is West Ham's starting lineup. Which was, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, I was absolutely, I was quite shocked and tried to see the positives in a decision that David Moyes was doing. I did not expect Ben Rama to start. I didn't think Antonio would start either, and I thought Scamacca and Cornet would have been on the park. But at the end of the day, it's a squad game, and we need to have that strength and depth. And if he's got the belief in some of the players that he's chosen there, then you've got to have the faith in what he is putting out in the team. However, I think the biggest thing for me is that there's no one, it's not a fresh set of face. There's no fresh faces around. And we're going into the third season now where we've got players there like Scamacca and Cornet who look like they're ready to rock and roll and get involved in the game and can change the way that West Ham play, because after 3 years, surely to God, teams can start to work out, what tactics, what style of play the players are going to do. And if you're coming up against the same sort of players playing in the same positions, then surely you're going to, it's going to take them to have the next level of ability to be able to advance against an opposition team. So if you are Steve Cooper, for example, and you're looking at West Ham, you're going, well, that lineup has been West Ham's lineup borderline for 2 seasons. So I know what their tactical what their tactical position is going to be when I'm attacking or when they're coming to the ground. So, if you don't freshen it up, you need to freshen it up. And I don't doubt for a second that Moyes wants to do that. And he said that again after the game today, and he's been saying it for a while, but he did say it last week, and then we've had a whole week without bringing someone else in. You can see there's defensive issues there. You absolutely can see there's defensive issues there in an abundance. Kurt Zouma, all in all, I thought he had an okay-ish game, but there were errors there. Ben Johnson, the same. I was really disappointed in Vladimir Sofal and Aaron Creswell. Sofal looked a shadow of himself. He looked really slow in the uptake, slow getting forward, and he's been a fantastic servant for the club, but his pace is really slow. And today's game, for example, was a sign of lack of pace and lack of fitness. And, I was talking to my dad, and people on the screen were saying, well, you had to deal with the weather, but so did Nottingham Forest. They had to deal with the weather. And okay, on another day, if West Ham had taken our chances, the score could have been 4-1 or 5-1, because I think we hit the bar twice. They had 3 or 4 shots cleared off the line, and we had a penalty miss as well. But they did have chances, of course. They didn't just lie down and take an absolute beating. But you've got to look at some of the things and realize, well, at the end of the day, if we had taken our chances, how things would have changed. I know you don't like, some of you like stats, some of you don't like stats. I do have the stats for the game that I will bring up for you, of course. This is the first one here. The ball possession was 57% possession to West Ham, to Nottingham Forest's 43. What was interesting was that in the first half, it was dramatically in favour of Nottingham Forest. And then West Ham swung it about in the second half, and we did take the game to them. And you could equally say that if it wasn't for Henderson, If Henderson was not playing for Nottingham Forest today, he blatantly kept them in this game. He kept them in this game dramatically. He really, really did. And today has taught me that we need to, it's not taught me. It's knowing what we all know, which is we need to strengthen in an abundance. And it's not worrying. It's played 2, lost 2, conceded 3. I can see elements of clicking. I can see elements of West Ham coming out there. I can see, when Fornals hit the bar, Benrahma hit the bar, chances cleared off the line. I mean, Nottingham Forest were defending for their lives at one point in this game. They were absolutely, dramatically defending for their lives. And fair play. Do you know what? The atmosphere was fantastic. They made the City ground feel really like dangerous to come to, very intimidating for the opposition team. I don't doubt for a second the players was like, oh, my word, it's a loud stadium. But you're talking about a club that's heaped in shitloads of history and have been there, done that, wore the t-shirt in pretty much most of the competitions. So the fans backed them up in abundance, absolutely backed them up in a huge amount of abundance. But I think something like this here, I've heard people calling on Declan Rice saying that he didn't have one of his best performances, and he didn't have one of his best performances. But I wonder if after 8 minutes, for me, it was by far not a yellow card. And I'm not just saying that, but it really wasn't. But things like that can ruin a game and can particularly ruin a player's ability to get into the game. And I think, really, to be honest, that's exactly what the referee did. He was very card happy by bringing the card out and booking him. I'm not trying to blame just him on this scenario, but I think that did not help the matter. It was very early on. Declan Rice picks up that for a minor incident, and it wasn't great, and that really didn't help him at all either. But like I said, I'm going to talk more about the game as well, but I'm going to jump through some of the comments and just see what everyone else who's in there is saying. And like I said, if you are interested in coming on and joining me for a chin wag, then you can click the link that I am putting in the chat just now, and you come on, have your say as well. Yudaraja Krishnan is saying Moyes out, Potter in. I don't know if are you taking the piss a little bit? I don't know. Relax, right now. Ashamed of the team. Rice was let down today. Why is he on the penalties? But the thing is, it's easy for us to turn around and say Declan Rice was let down. But if you look at all the players' performances, it wasn't Declan Rice's best performance in a West Ham shirt. It was up there with one of his running around like a. He just wasn't there. He wasn't at the races. No one was there. There was a couple of players that were, I was impressed with Benrahma today, and I've been one of his biggest critics. Not just me. A lot of West Ham fans have been, but Benrahma stepped up to the plate today. So no, for me today, I didn't look at Declan Rice and think he was let down. I think the fans were let down by the West Ham players today. They didn't step up to the mark, and maybe let down by Moyes' tactical decisions. I don't know what Moyes was thinking. I have to be really mindful here of what I'm saying because I'm a big Moyes fan. But decisions and games like today don't help my cause at all. They don't. When I back up David Moyes, and I back him up left, right, and centre, and no wonder I do. And I by far don't think this is defining for our season. I think we will progress. I really do. I really believe it. I've seen things today. As much as maybe little things like creating opportunities. And if we have that, Scamacca starting and Cornet starting, he came on, he played out in the right, but if Cornet starts and plays out in the left or plays up top and we bring in some more strength and depth, then I can see things doing and progressing really well. So for me, it wasn't West Ham letting Declan Rice down today. It was the players letting the fans down and maybe Moyes' tactical decisions letting the fans down as well. You're saying the next 4 games, Brighton, Villa, Spurs, Chelsea, 0 points. I mean, we've got to have more faith in West Ham for that. What it's taught me is that there are it's a big week for West Ham. I know we've got 2 weeks left of the transfer window, but you'd want West Ham to do business. We need to do business. There's no ifs or buts about it. I'm going to come on to a couple of the players individually in a minute. ruins your week. Yeah, absolutely. It does, doesn't it? It's just weird how it has that effect on you. 100%. Hello, everyone from Lexington, Kentucky, USA. Lawrence, good to see you, my friend. We could seriously be on 0 points by game week 7. You could say that about most teams, but when West Ham, when you least expect it, sometimes we come and bounce back and do well. And I feel like Scamacca and Corney potentially starting for West Ham can change the whole dynamics of the team. And I think what David Moyes probably didn't get a chance to do, and what's shown in the first couple of games, is bring the bodies in early to see what you can actually do and what formation and what team and what players play well together. You know, Fornals had an okayish game, not great, okay. And Lanzini didn't really do anything when he came on, in my opinion. And I think that's a little bit, snatch and grab decisions, very quick, last minute. What have we got? Who can try and change the game? Let's put them on. Whereas if we had these players in a lot earlier, we could have worked out the tactical genius. Now, I heard what David Moyes said after the game. He said that Scamacca and Corney didn't start the game today because they haven't had a lot of preseason under their belts. But he did say in the press conference that they're pretty much ready to start. And I don't understand then why you would say they're ready to start and then turn around after and say they've not had preseason minutes under the belt. For me, when you're coming to the City ground against Nottingham Forest, who have just been promoted and signed 15 players, 16 players, going on nearly 17 or 18 players, you've got to hit them where it hurts, which is the fact that they're vulnerable because they have not played together. But they didn't look like a team that hadn't played together today. They looked like a team that were very well formation, very well in unison, very well communicating and progressing forward as a team. It wasn't a game of Nottingham Forest destroying West Ham. It wasn't a game of West Ham destroying Nottingham Forest. However, if we had scored the 4 or 5 goals, fans would have turned around and went, well, we destroyed them. It wasn't like that. It was it was just another dull performance, really. And that's the disappointing thing. But I don't think we'll be on 0 points by game week 7, but hopefully I can look back at this video and think, what have I said? Awful match, no excuses today. Last 10 games, 1 win. Yeah, it's not great, but again, strength and depth, and someone's got to take some form of responsibility for that. Lost opportunities today. Yet we are battling relegation this season. I don't know. I don't believe we are. I think that what we do this week is vital to how our season is going to pan out. They bought 13 players in still, and they had much more cohesive team than us. Absolutely, I've just said that, haven't I? So great minds think alike, but it's true. They did. They had more cohesiveness, more unison, more we'll talk about Jesse Lingard in a minute, but at one point when he had the ball, I don't think he had a great game himself, but he crossed the ball in, which looked like a shot, but it was a cross. But you could see how the players were thinking. It was forward thinking, and Awoni, who got the goal eventually, was trying to go in. He had a couple of half chances in the first half that if he'd have connected, they would have gone into the back of the net. Relax, Rhino. Moyes is a manager who's scared of change. You won't see any youngsters coming through or new players playing. Bloody get in a defender. £100 million spent. None of them start. Yeah. It's a really, really today's team sheet was odd. Didn't think Benrahma and Fabianski to start, and they were our best players on the pitch. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've seen people saying Fabianski was one of our best players. I don't remember Fabianski making world-class saves in this game, and that's not me doing him a disjustice because I like Fabianski, I like Areola, but it's a good thing to think that to be fair, Nottingham Forest chances were scuffed or blocked when they were shooting on target, etc. Henderson kept them in the game 100%, but Benrahma had a very, very good game. I thought he progressed well. He kept the ball well. I've actually got his stats for his game today, which I will run through with you just now. So he did play the full 90 minutes. He had an 89% success pass rate, which is very high for him. He had 4 key passes. He had 4 accurate passes, 1 long ball. He had 1 shot on target. He had 1 shot off target. He had 1 shot blocked. He was successful in 5 out of his 8 attempts today as well. He hit the woodwork once. He won 14 ground duels. Sorry, he had 14 ground duels and he won 8 of them. He had 1 aerial duel, which he lost. He did lose possession 12 times today. He was fouled twice. He had one clearance, one block shot, and he made one tackle. But, when I read out the stats for Benrahma last week, it was night and day. He was a different player today. So that's a positive that's come from it. Zuma picked up a knock in the second minute, and that would have been game over for us for the first 2 to 3 months. I've seen that. I've always thought he carries a knock. He looks like he walks and carries a knock week in and week out when he plays for West Ham. And yeah, it wasn't great. Moyes is getting on my nerves now. We look very stale and need fresh faces as soon as possible. We absolutely do need fresh faces. 100%. They say that these teams, you can't go out 3 seasons after 3 seasons after 3 seasons and not freshen up the squad. You can't do that. You have to freshen up the squad. And Cornet and Scamacca and obviously Aguerd would have been 3 players that would be starting in that team. But there's a player that I've stuck up for week after week, year after year, over the last year in particular, and that's Tommy Soucek. However, when it comes to Tommy Soucek today, I was not impressed with him at all. And I can now maybe start to see why David Moyes is looking at strengthening in that area. Because I think if you have a Conor Gallagher in the middle of the park for West Ham alongside a Declan Rice, West Ham probably, and it's a big bold statement here, go on and progress and win that game today. Because he never says die. Now, Tommy Soucek doesn't, but he does. That he is dispossessed from the ball on a reasonable amount of times. Now, listen, got a guest coming on. I've got plenty of comments to go through, but I'll bring the guest on first, and we'll have a little bit of a chin wag. Lawrence, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Anton, very good. Thank you for having me on.
No worries at all.
I know we want to make this quick, the 5-minute thing. My disappointment, they started with the lineup, and I think we all thought that. And we would be fooling ourselves if we did not think that you need Scamacca and Cornet to get into some kind of groove. You can't bring them on in Scamacca's case in the last 65-ish minute and bring Cornet on there in 85 to get into the rhythm. Because as we know, it's going to be a mesh. On a training pitch, it's different. But we didn't have that. And Moyes, I'm sorry, Moyes is so dang predictable, and he's not putting the people in the right place at the right time. It's just frustrating. Now, Benrahma, I'm so glad. I was so worried. When I saw Scamacca and Lanzini coming on, I was worried Benny's coming off. I'm like, if he pulls Benny off, I think we would have a mutiny because how good he was playing. So
yeah, he was.
And I think in retrospect of the whole match, I think the first half we had our opportunities. We couldn't finish in the box. That's our big issue. Really have a struggle with that. If it's Antonio, whoever, it's like when we get down there, we don't have any rhythm that you see on a good squad to do that. Second half, we actually had that. We hit a couple of crossbars. We've done that, and luck wasn't on our side. So I guess my question is, do we value the positivity of how we looked and not getting in against a team that's Forest? And now I've heard more today that people don't really think they're quality. You know what I mean?
I think, yeah, I mean, listen, I've always been concerned when a team signs 15 plus footballers and do you get the cohesion? Do you get the unison? They were a team that looked like they had cohesion and unison. That doesn't mean they're going to go on and finish like that, Lawrence, for the season, but they stepped up to the mark today. Maybe it could have been the moment, the return to the Premier League after such a long time. There's no ifs and buts about it. The fans were ridiculously loud. They were very, very good. They were on the team side. They were definitely the 12th man today. And that definitely probably drove them forward. Players that, go unheard of at Nottingham Forest, Lewis O'Brien in the middle of the park for Nottingham Forest today. He really did cause West Ham a lot of problems. He went under the radar because he's not a big name. He's one of the original lads that stayed there, or I think he is one of the original lads from Nottingham Forest. But he broke up the play. I think he got man of the match from today, and he really caused us, problems in the middle of the park. And this is what the area, Lawrence, I'm intrigued to talk to you about as well. And anyone in the chat, get involved. I have, and I still am, one of Tommy Soucek's biggest fans.
I am, but today, anytime I'm sorry to cut you off, but today he lost And you know what? I'm not asking for everyone, but the headers that he had, he could have done more with, and the opportunities he had today, I think at least one of them, he had at least 3 times that he could have put in the nets, and sometimes it can't be right, but he was there. So that was probably my most disappointing thing. I like Suchek, but we'd be lying to ourselves if we think we don't see a drop off in his productivity and things like that. And I was disappointed today in him. I'm just gonna be honest.
What I think I saw from Tommy Suchek last season was a Tommy Suchek that was, told to let Declan Rice get further forward and do that. So I think he went slightly under the radar in terms of what he actually did for West Ham. However, today was highlighted because I've got his actual individual stats for the game, Lawrence.
Yes, please.
Out of 10 duels, ground duels, he won 4. He only won 4 of his ground duels today. He was pretty dominant in the air. He won 3 of his 4 aerial duels, but he did lose possession 5 times. He lost possession 5 times today. And for me, each of those times he lost possessions led to a progressive Forest moving forward that put West Ham in big danger. He was dribbled past twice. So the opposition got past them reasonably with ease today.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't up to his old self. And I don't want to get carried away.
No,
West Ham losing 2 games in a row. It's tough to take on the chin, especially today. New team, 15 players. But when you look at our starting lineup, and we have got the same starting lineup as pretty much last year, there's no fresh faces. Then anyone in the right mind as a coach would look at that and go, well, let's look at how they've played.
Exactly right.
Let's look at how they've looked and played over the season before. Yeah, and then we know what they can do to adjust it. What I think we really did miss today, honestly, was actually probably, as we all know and all thought, Scamacca and Corney playing, because I don't think Nottingham Forest would have known what was getting thrown at them.
They came on too late. Too late. Yeah. And they got to figure themselves out too with the match. I saw Scamacca, and he didn't have a groove yet, which is not his fault yet. He doesn't know how to communicate with the players and anticipate what the winger's going to pass to him, or they're not all in sync yet. So to bring him on at worst case scenario, he should have brought Moy should have brought him on in the second half, starting in the second half. So it gave him a little bit of time, maybe 20 minutes, and then maybe he got his groove. And then Cornet, what did he come on? 85 minutes?
I think we were lucky as well, because they scored that goal. That, of course, we had a goal that was disallowed, and I'll come back to this one in a minute. But when they scored the goal that was disallowed, it was extremely lucky for West Ham. We got away with that one, genuinely got away with that one. But even before that, like you said, 45, I thought at halftime we would have changed things because I didn't see enough in the first half.
Exactly.
The first 5 minutes, I thought, I'll give them 5 more minutes, but after that, we need to make that substitution quickly. Not because just because we need a new outlet. We need something a bit different. I thought, in theory, Antonio had an okay-ish game in terms of his hold-up play.
I agree. I agree with that.
But so in theory, I would have probably looked at pulling another player off and keeping Antonio on with Scamacca, giving Scamacca a bit of support. And I think that would have caused them quite a bit of problems today.
Yeah, I think Antonio did. But if you guys and Antonio, I want your opinion on this, especially for a pure striker. I need your advice on this as being a new guy. Is that Antonio is a guy, the ball come to him and he sits back, and you know how he backs up against his defenders and stuff like that. He does that so much. Is that what you want from your striker? Or do you want someone else to set that up where the striker is more loose to get the receiving of the ball? Because he's more, you know what I mean? It seems confusing to me, because when you have that much contact, it's not easy for you to break loose for a shot. So what do you think?
Well, you're completely right, but it also is down to the players that play off of him to get forward when he's doing the work. And
very true. Yeah.
And what we didn't really have, except for Benny today, but Benny did it from deep. He didn't really do it when he was further up the field. Everything that Benny did today came pretty much from Ben Rama starting the move.
Yeah,
and completing the move at the end of the day. And yeah, you're completely right. But that comes down to same old. Like teams look at Antonio, know what he's capable of doing, and the defense will look at that.
Predictable.
It's predictable. Whereas Scamacca's not, and how can West Ham judge Nottingham Forest? Because no team can judge Nottingham Forest because they've got so many new players, so it can work in both ways. I still think Nottingham Forest could struggle this season. I really do. I don't think West Ham. I think West Ham can get ourselves out of this. I really do. That does depend on more strengthening and using the players that we were talking about, i.e. bringing in Scamacca and Cornet. I do think Scamacca's got the ability. I'm shocked, more pissed off that he didn't start.
Great.
I think it would have been a right decision to start him today because it could have shut Forest up and calm that down. And there was balls put into the box today. There was, if you think about
how many times did
they clear the ball off the line?
Yeah.
Tons. How many times? We hit the bar twice. It bounced off the line. Their players were clearing the ball off the line. Like we have to, if there's something to take from this game today, in another day, Lawrence, we would have won this game 5-2.
I think so.
Literally.
Oh shit! I agree. I totally agree.
We could not. There was nothing we could do today to put that ball in the back of the net.
Nothing. Zero.
But it maybe highlights finishing as a problem, and that's what David Moyes is saying, isn't he?
And I've said that, and I hate to say it, we had the same problem last year. Is that when we get into the box, we struggle finishing. And Antonio, I've had my reservations on him because he's never in the box too much. He's usually more off to the left. But we have so much struggle. And Bowen did not have a good match.
No.
Bowen did not. He looked slow. He looked, he just did not. I think out of all, I think I would have pulled him before I probably would have pulled Fornals. I would have switched it up some because Fornals did not, coming out from the second half, something went up his rear end and sparked him. And I thought he was playing really well in the second half. And then to pull him off, and I know it's on, you try to do it by position, but Bowen should have been the guy that went off first. He went off at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think Moyes is definitely, we thought we were going to see movement in the transfer window last week, but it's so huge that West Ham get movement this week. We have to go all guns blazing to bring in the players that he wants. You can see after today in particular that the middle of the park is an area he wants to progress. He wants to move forward. Defensively, I am concerned, Lawrence. I'm concerned even with the players we've got as backup defensively because we're all on the wrong side of 30. They've got long-term injuries. There's just not enough defensively is the concern. And if we can get the right recruits going forward, I think we'll be able to score. We just need to get one goal over the line and then hopefully that will bounce on back. But yeah, for me, Moyes has stated, several positions in this team is something that he needs to recruit, but he needs to bring them in. He needs to bring them in ASAP.
I mean, it's terrible when we have a transfer window and then the week that we want to bring people in, we lose Diop and Vlasic, which, we can say Diop, I would say with the lack of depth, I would have kept him if we could have. Vlasic, we know how it is. So, and someone made a terrible joke on one of the chats today. He's like, oh, I'm shocked we didn't have 3 goalies on the bench.
Yeah.
So we had 2 goalies on the bench and still didn't have enough depth. That should tell you something right now that the board and Moyes need to freaking figure it out and bring some people in with some quality to get this. I know, and you guys, and you as a West Ham fan longer than I am, it's just like, it's so freaking frustrating.
It is it's frustrating. It's the right word to use. I'm going to jump through some of the comments, Lawrence. Moyes is getting on my nerves now. We look very stale and need to fresh faces as soon as possible. I do agree with that. I really do. I think that stale comment is a comment that people could get offended by, but I don't think we should get offended by it because it's a natural thing in football that you need to, or any sport that you need to progress by bringing new faces in, and that sends rocket ships up the players that are currently there's arses to progress as a team. That's exactly what we need. Imagine us getting relegated with Declan, Bowen and Scamacca in the team. Let's just not think like that yet.
It's too early.
Creswell, Suchek says Safal, Antonio are slowly losing touch with the fat-paced teams. fast team, sorry, send those Czech players back. They've been horrible the whole of last season and continuous this season. The funny thing is, though, when it comes to the man behind me, that wherever it is here, Safal, in pre-season, I actually thought he looked pretty decent, but I was really disappointed in his. He looked slow today, Lawrence, and
was it the heat? Do you think it was the heat and stuff like that? Because
but every player. Every player's got to go through that.
Yeah, yes, sir.
No, but you're right, though. It's true because I've had this conversation with everyone today, and everyone talks about, oh well, it's hot, but so it's hot for Nottingham Forest, it's hot for West Ham,
true,
and for me, it could have been the heat, could have affected people differently, but Safal hasn't been massively impressive, and we talk about pace, but we had no pace on the wings today, but we had players. We were slow in the uptake. We were slow at going forward. We were slow at progressing. And that's what I think Moyes wants to change. That's why Moyes is looking at players like Broja, Gallagher's of the world.
I want Gallagher.
And you add them to the Scamacas and Cornets, and then you're looking at a different West Ham. That's why I really think he wants to push the boat out and bring Broja in. I still think Broja is an option if we can do a deal with Chelsea, because I think
like that.
Well, I think what he does is he brings the gap closer between the midfield and the striker. I think
did you see Chelsea brought him on the pitch today at the end of the match?
Well, they've been doing that quite a lot, haven't they? They've been doing Broja
after that, because remember the manager didn't want to give him to us, so he's putting him out there, and he's a big boy. I'd love to get him.
Yeah, absolutely. How have we scored no goals? The only team in the league who haven't yet scored, apart from Palace, who play tomorrow. James is saying, hi, Anton. As soon as Rice stepped up for the penalty, I thought, oh no, he's going to miss it, and he did. Rice should not be a penalty. He is not Mark Noble. With the penalty, I said to my dad when I was watching the game, I was like, who do we think is going to take this penalty? And we really didn't know. When I seen Declan Rice step up, and I thought, really? I didn't think that. And my niece turned around and went, he's going to miss it, and he did. And I was like, oh no. just part of it. And they always say though, West Ham fans will turn around and go, well, he shouldn't be on penalties next time. The problem is he probably will, because they'll turn around to him and say, you need to take the next one to get over that.
Get confidence back. Yep, you got to
get confidence back. Play Coventry and Ashby instead of overrated Czech players. Well, we have got the game Viborg in the weekend, the week. So there could be, we'll see changes. We know we will.
But that's good discussion about that. If we're not going to sign players, when do we start saying, hey, like the Coventries and the Ashbys that are our young up-and-comer players, why don't get them on the pitch? And like you said, maybe we'll see them on Thursday. But if we're not signing people and they're on the bench, I say we try it out. We have to do something.
I think Moyes shouldn't look at players who are in the first team squad and be worried about giving Ashby a run out. Russ, it's Russ's boy. He absolutely loves Harrison Ashby. Russ was very fortunate enough to watch West Ham when we couldn't watch West Ham live, when we were all out of the stadiums. He also got a chance to watch a lot of the under-23 games when Ashby was playing. And he bigs him up big style. He says he's absolutely more than capable of stepping up to the plate. One thing I did notice with Ashby is he's got a shit load of pace, and he's very good at defending. That. So he could be a player that we could see this week on Thursday, and that could really be kickstart, hopefully, his career in the West Ham shirt. Relaxed is saying if we were switched on and fit, we could have had 4 points better off than Man United already. We didn't look fit though, did we, Lawrence? Really? We looked like we lacked that energy today. People, I know you mentioned the heat, but again, Nottingham Forest had the heat. Really, what's the situation there?
I saw better pace this week than we saw last. I thought last week we weren't fit. And I don't know if you guys saw the article when Moyes said he had one specific player that showed up not fit. I thought it was Zuma, in my opinion. But I saw today at least an uptick than we were before. Maybe because we were playing Forest. But it was better than last week. But I guess my biggest thing today was the lack of finishing and having some cohesion and with paces, people being on the same pace. When a team's together and they can – the players can anticipate what the other player is going to do or he's going to move the shot. We still haven't seen that yet. And the sad part is most of the players that were out on the pitch or we worked with last year. So that's kind of disappointing, but it's better pace than last week, because last week now we were playing Man City, the world champs, I guess, but we need to step it up some.
100%. No excuses today. We were worse today. Matt says when Moyes leaves, we should go for Thomas Frank from Brentford. He's not leaving. He's not leaving. Have the faith. He's staying. He's sticking around. He's building something. There ain't no way that he is leaving this door. You know, he's there. So we need to stick with him. I said Rice was let down. Not that he was let down, or was a letdown. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, he didn't step up to the plate today. He looked a former shadow of himself. Declan Rice did, and I think that he'll be more disappointed. And I think if you clocked on his social media today, he
apologized.
He apologized, and I think it was even more than the miss, Lawrence. I think it was, that just wasn't good enough today. Yeah. It was not, and it wasn't good enough. GP is saying I was a Moyes fan. I was. Yeah, Neil, I hope you're well, Neil. I thought Bowen, Fornals, and Moyes were especially poor today. Yeah, Bowen's the sort of player that I think Moyes is trying and testing a few things, and it's not going to work. So I think between Viborg and Brighton, shit's going to change. It has to change. You can't start that same team again. But what you can do is you can maximize the positives from that game today. And the one positive for me that came out of that game today was Benrahma. And you cannot, under any circumstances, drop Benrahma. He needs to consistently play. So he should play against Viborg, in my opinion. And if he has a good game, he should play against Brighton. And then you add other players within that circle. Not that I'm saying he's the first name on the sheet, but you cannot take him off that team sheet because he was very influential today. And that's coming from a guy that's very, has been on top of him quite a lot, Lawrence.
Me too, actually. Yeah. I actually have beat him up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Foster says we'll finish mid-table if we keep playing the same team every week. I think people will obviously clock on to exactly what we're doing. Next match, hopefully, no Souček and 2 up top. Sick of this isolated Antonio and that giraffe running in circles. Lots of people were calling for Downs to start today. And I seen the reason why even before the game, but I thought that Moyes would have chosen Souček. But I think the fan base were probably borderline proven right today. Have we saw enough of Downs to give him the run out and would he have been effective more today than what Souček would have been, Lawrence?
I think, yes. I think I haven't seen enough of Downs to make a real decision, but I've seen Souček, and I know you're a fan of him, lately decline. We saw it last year. We saw it this year. And Moyes is so predictable. And when the lineup came out, we were all disappointed, but we weren't surprised, right? So if I'm thinking Moyes is thinking, I'm going to put Souček today and I'll put Downs on Thursday and see how he plays there, where he can have maybe a full 90 minutes with the team. So, it's now personally at heart and as a fan, I would like to see at least a bit. I would have brought him in at least halftime or something like that and brought him in, because Souček, honestly, I heard it on Sky News. I heard it in the USA. Souček, his headers, it went to the net, but he could have done so much more. And I'm not saying Downs would have been a difference, but I'd like to saw a change. I'd like to saw a mix up.
Absolutely. Lawrence, we've got 2 more guests sitting in the background, so I'm going to bring them on. Thank you very much for joining us again. And take it easy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cheers.
I'll follow you another chat.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Lawrence. Oh, hello. We've lost. Oh, no. If you are watching, click the link again that's in the chat and join us. Sorry, I don't know if it's... we had this problem last week. I think I'm going to have to contact the company. I'm putting the link back in the chat if you want to come back on and give us your opinion. James is saying there was a moment in the game when Scamacca could have laid the ball off to Benrahma, but tries to shoot instead. I don't think Benrahma was too happy. Absolutely. He'd done a lot of work down the left-hand side. He came into the box, and if you see the angle of the repeat, you actually see Benrahma is screaming for the ball on the edge of the box. Scamacca takes his chance, and it's blocked by the Nottingham Forest defenders. I don't know what you do in that situation, really. Like, he's a striker, and sometimes you call for strikers to be a bit greedy in that. But then you do get frustrated and think, well, there's an open goal, or not an open goal, but a player that's extremely open. No one's close to him and he's 18 yards out past the fucking ball. But I think Scamacca, second game, substitute appearance, he was always going to shoot from that position there, really. I think he just needs to start a game, to be honest. Matt says, Ariola must be thinking, why am I even here if I'm not going to play? Don't understand how Nottingham Forest has so many players in 15th today, with more incoming as reported on Sky Sports. Absolutely. Good to see you, Stephen. Thank you for joining us. Thunder is saying, if Moyes listens to the fan base, then Benrahma wouldn't have started. He was our best player by far. You are right. Daniela did not watch the game, was playing cricket but I did see a poor penalty by Rice. Yes, disappointed by the result, but I'm not going to get disheartened yet. Still got 36 games to play. Happy Amorettes in the house. Hope you are well, and I know you're disappointed, as we all are. Cornet looked quality when he was brought on in the 84th minute, hand over head. Like, why are we doing it? So frustrated today. Hope you're good. VAR against us. Well, let's talk about that moment. So Benrahma put the ball in the back of the net, and VAR caught the goal off because of the collision between Antonio and the Nottingham Forest player. Now, I was trying to explain this to my family because it's not really about the fact that whether you think it's a push or not, right? It's about whether they think that player is going to interfere in play. I don't particularly think that player is going to interfere in play. So therefore, in my opinion, the goal should stand. However, it's fine margins for this sort of decision, and I don't know what their rules and regulations state. Now, if they're unsure, do they waive in the favour of not giving the goal? And it looks like that's what they actually do. So I don't know what the rule book is, but it makes me think that when a situation like Antonio's situation happens, that they go in favour of the opposing team who have conceded. And that's I think some VAR decisions could go for West Ham in that case, and some VAR couldn't. And I think that's a bit shit about the VAR thing, is like you can't define some of these decisions. And it was going to get chopped off the minute they called the referee over to the VAR camera to review it, and not rightly so, but they called the goal off, and that could have pushed West Ham forward and got the victory. Happy Amoret said Downs should have came on for Souček. I don't think we played poor, to be honest. Just think we should have played Cornet for at least half of that game. Scamacca needs longer on the pitch. Benny was class. Yeah, you can see a big difference for them coming on today as well. We do have someone in the background, but your camera and your microphone is off. I can see you in, Ford, but your camera and your microphone are off. So if you want to come on, please change that up. Neil T, Souček was shit today. He really was. He really was. Oh, you've gone. Steve, frustrated is an understatement. Who's going to replace Deckers on Thursday? That's a good question. We might have a new signing by then. We might actually have a new signing by then as well. Spent around 100 million and it's the same lineup. Disappointing. That's happening again. I know you've just joined, Ford, but your camera, there should be an option when you're looking at whatever you're looking at to click camera on. If it says stop cam or cam, click that and that should open up your camera. Then there should be the same option for a little microphone. Click that. If you're on a phone, it will pop up and it should show you be able to do it, and you can come on and have a chat with me. Downs has to play Thursday. Surely, I agree with you. You will. Ashley, the way things are going, it will be me. Astrofoz 19. Let me just show you forward what I see. This is what I see. I can't get you on because you're just there and I can't hear you or hear your camera. Astro 1901. Our problem besides bad luck today is midfielders. Souček and Fornals are really poor, and that affects Bowen's game too. Yeah, completely agree with you there. Lanzini had been on the pitch for that penalty. I know. Betty's Wallix. I thought we was by far the better team on another day. That's 5-0 to West Ham. I don't know what all the fuss is about. I think the fuss is about just the strengthening in depth and the second game in, and we're still not playing our new signings when you expect them. I'm not saying it's a huge fuss, but I think those signings could have been the difference between West Ham getting a point or 3 today rather than none. Sorry, Ford. I know you're in the background. I don't know who you are either, so I just can't see your camera. 84th minute sub. That's just ridiculous. Has to start. Cross hammer. Rice is a defender at heart. He shouldn't be taking penalties. Let's be honest. Everything went wrong today. They didn't deserve the 3 points, but Souček and Fornals need to be rest. They are both bad. I don't think they're bad. I just think that Moyes needs new options, something different, something a bit creative, something fast, pacey, someone who could get forward, someone who's on the same wavelength as the other players. And I think that will come. Wasn't happy with fans starting, but he had a great game, to be honest. How many games before Moyes is sacked? I think he's out before the World Cup. No, Vinny. No, he can't be. We will be lucky to pick up 3 points with our first 5 games. Going to be a long, hard season. Ashley saying got to win the first leg on Thursday. Completely agree. We do. Strikes on National Rail services on Thursday, but most TfL services weren't as normal, but expect disruption on the following lines in the outer London areas. Rode our luck today. Draw was probably a fair result. Can't fault our effort. All the best. Happy saying we were unlucky with the hitting the bar and Fornals shot, but Moyes should have been starting our new signing, surely. DC is going to be a tough season, mate. Crosshammer saying we've been very unlucky so far, losing our defence at the start of a campaign. Happy Amaret, feel sorry for Johnson. Square peg, round hole. Yep, Vinny. Moyes is too loyal, too old, and still players. He's gone bonkers. I don't want to get carried away with the statement, but I do think there is an element of stale, and we do need the fresh faces. We absolutely do. It's not a defence problem, it's a midfield problem. Souček and Fornals were nowhere today, and the Man City game too. I think it's both. I really do. I think it is both. Bowen looked like he'd been tied to a plough for most of the week. We asked a lot of Ben Johnson, to be fair. We do. We really do. Moyes needs a good kicking from Darren Rod to when we get our injured players back from cross hammer. Betty's Wallach saying Bowen is painful to watch. Sometimes he hasn't got the pace to be a winger. Astrofoz is saying Bowen looks poor. There's nothing behind him. Crosshammer, I agree with you on Rice. Should not be taking pens. Let me just get you back out. And if you want to click that link again, you can. Bowen looks off the pace from Ashley Kemp. Happy, I get bedding in players, but Corney's fit and Prem ready. Why did he get so little time? Burnley fans are fuming. We aren't playing him. I think we will, Happy. I think next week's going to be a big change for us as well. Hi, Daniela. Puts on Lanzini ahead of Corney. Not a sane decision. I thought that was an odd one. I thought we would have seen Corney and Scamacca together. Bowen looks like he's had the head turned, even if his demeanour pre-game looked off. Normal service is resumed from NWO. I was thinking the same. Happy Moyes doing the as well. It's annoying. I know we have Seagulls next week by saving graces. Man United have Liverpool, so should still be bottom. God, we are all doom and gloom in the chat tonight. A winger needs help from midfielders. Souček and Fornals both weren't on the pitch today. Alexander 52. The board needs to have a word with Moyes. Give him a few more games. If no changes, then get rid. Andrew Fielding. Different between great managers and mediocre ones. It's the great ones know it's time to bring in fresh faces. Look at the last 10 games of the season. This is an ongoing problem. It is. Sufal, Souček, Bowen, Rice, and Antonio were dog shit today. You can say that again. How many people been calling Moyes to be sacked is beyond me? No, absolutely crazy. 2 games in and we aren't ready. Injuries to our entire centre backs. We can only go up from here. Just needs tweaking massively. Unlucky goal to concede. It was really a crap goal, wasn't it? It's just Ben Johnson put the ball on Timoni's foot, who found the back of the net. We didn't look fit and ready to start the season. Absolutely. Crosshammer is saying the only way I would want Moyes gone is if we had a chance to get Poch or someone of that caliber. He's not going to go, mate. He's building something at West Ham and he'll turn it around. It's only 2 games in. It's going to be turned around. I have the pure and utter faith in that as well. Hello, everyone from Lee. Good to see you, my friend. It was a rubbish penalty. It was. Leander is saying when Johnson goes back out wide, we'll have more pace. We will. If you do want to come and have your voice, click this link in the chat. You'll see the link in the chat. Click it. Then you do. There's a couple of people trying to join, but the voices and the cameras haven't been working. Our fitness is bad. I know the heat doesn't help, but other teams are looking sharper. I've seen crackheads take better. Jesus Christ. Elephant in the room. Moyes is obsessed with old players. Antonio's never going to score. Only Moyes think he will. Insane. Moyes is okay as soon as the transfer window ends. He frustrates the hell out of me at the moment, though. Absolutely. For the brief time he was on the pitch, Corney looks class, looks like he's a game changer and exciting, and he can play anywhere really on that right-hand side, left-hand side, or up top. Happy, so he is a potential game changer as well. They're now trying to speed up the recovery of Augie. That can't be the answer. It can't be the answer. We need a new fresh face in that defence, and I think Carrera could be the one coming through the door this week, and maybe another on top of that. We need to get a half-decent centre-back in on loan ASAP. Victor Fenn is saying didn't lose the match because of Moyes. We lost because we never took our chances and missed a penalty. We won't finish top 6 or 7. Get into the heads if you won't feel let down at the end of the season. Brighton next. Well, that's a 1 point. We all need to chill. The pressure seems to be getting to Rice. Feel sorry for him, to be honest. I think it will change. I do believe that. I do think there's an element that we do need to chill as a fan base. But we want to see changes. We want to see fresh faces, and I think that will happen. Smash Viborg and get some confidence back, and then do Brighton absolutely. Good evening for all of you. I just want you to know it's true that Said Birmingham is for sale, and he is close to leaving West Ham to play with Nottingham. Fabrizio Romano said it, but it might not happen, especially after today's performance. We were playing 11 men, the crowd, the crossbar, the officials, and bad luck. Absolutely. Ashley says, think we'll be up for the Brighton game and get a win. You know what? What a game to get a win. What a game to potentially bounce back from 2 defeats, to beat a team we've not beaten in the Premier League. Here is an opportunity. Moyes will be working with this team all week. Videboard next. Get a result, get the motivation going, get the consistency going, get the positivity going, progress into the Brighton game, beat Brighton, a team you've never beaten in the Premier League. And bosh, we look back at the 2 defeats and we've got 2 wins on the bounce. And then we go into the next games with the confidence. We bring in players, we've got strength and depth. And we'll be looking back at these 2 games and thinking, yeah, it's shit, we've lost them, but we know we can turn things around. And that's it. We just need to run a games of good victories, and we can get this sorted out, as Happy is saying. Just a shame we didn't do things quicker and throw caution to the wind. Is it yourself that's trying to come on forward? Because it is, please click the link again. Just when you're doing it, make sure you're checking out the camera and the microphone as well. I think there are quite a few positives to take from the game. Southgate would be picking Bowen given that performance, unfortunately. Benny was by far our best player, 100%. Benrahma is for sale, which I would hope you're not great players first, so I say no. Souček was very good today. Let's be honest, he doesn't deserve slander today. I don't agree with you, Ford. I don't agree with you. I love him. He's one of my favourite players at West Ham. I've been sticking up for him last season, but today wasn't his best game in a West Ham shirt. And I think today highlighted why Moyes is looking for someone else in the middle of the park. And he is absolutely looking for someone else in the middle of the park. Yes, by far the best today. They nullified the balls to Bowen. And I also think that guy that's not been named didn't have a great game. He did okay, but not exceptional, 100%. Benrahma was excellent today. Great points, Lawrence. Take it easy, Lawrence. Moyes is saying Moyes only seems to ever do like for like subs on. Why does he never switch formation during the game? He's got players that can offer that now. That's the thing. And he's not done it. Moyes hasn't learned anything from his mistakes last season tactically. Benny's hardly one to moan about not being passed to. Was Mike Dean behind the VAR? I don't think it was, and I'm trying to remember who the guy's name was. Darren is saying if Benny had taken and missed that penalty today, we should not have seen him in a West Ham shirt again until after Christmas. I think Mike Dean was there. Benrahma was excellent today. Everyone seems to be saying so. So the Moyes kick up the backside seems to have worked, and absolutely, and fingers crossed, it can continue. Motivation, consistency, all that sort of stuff. But Declan, Antonio, or anyone else misses, and no big deal. Just if you would have been on the pitch, it would have made a difference. Can't play the same team on Thursday. Don't worry, guys. Season doesn't start till next week. How many times are we going to say that? Absolutely. I wonder whether there needs to be a limit on the decision that goes to VAR. Our midfield could not be dominant even in God. Anton, what are the goldfish's names? They are Hulk Smash and Cyborg. That's it. That's what they are. Seeing our lineup was disheartening, but I agree we played better than last week, so we are progressing slowly. Need points. Sorry to repeat myself, but I'm just peeved. You are. Skamaka sounds like oh God. Lanzini scores the penalty. That was the most unluckiest game for any team I have ever seen. Money Grabber was crap today, but he's still got the 3 points, and that's really what he is going to care about, really, isn't he? Slight change of subject, but Conte and Tuchel both sent off. Seen that, J-Lings. Was shit. Only positive I can take from today is that little weasel scored it. Would have ruined my weekend. Ford is saying here's one thing that really concerned me after missing the penalty. Declan looked really timid and unsure of himself. I expected more angry and determined responses. Garino, I suspect Skamaka will go the same way as Haller, as Moyes is so focused on the system. He does not know how to get the best out of our attackers. I think that only happens if Skamaka doesn't keep playing. I mean, I think Skamaka He's very different to Alex. He does drop deep to find the ball. He has to come and collect the ball. That's his type of play. That's why I think David Moyes brought him on. Jason shouldn't have taken Antonio off, though. He's outstanding today. I think Declan should definitely not do penalties duties for now. Conte's wig also got a red card. Moyes' issues are no shock. He was letting Pierce go a mistake. Pierce was going no matter what, mate. He wasn't moving close to the area. His journey was becoming 4 hours a day. It's ridiculous, so it's never going to happen. We'll finish anywhere between 5th, 6th, and 7th. Right, this Rice has taken every penalty in exactly the same way, made it too easy once again for the goalie. Glass half full. In 2016, Leicester lost to Man City 2-0, then lost 1-0 to a promoted team and missed a penalty. Look what happened next. Good point. We ain't been the same since Irvin left. Crazy to tell Benny he can do a job and be great third to give us confidence boost from playing so well today. I have so many comments. I'm trying my best to get through them all. I think I'm coming down to the end. I'm having to skip through some, so I do apologise. To be fair, if we smash Viborg, then beat Brighton and make a few more signings, the season will be looking so different for all of us. Garino Rice needs to focus on being not what people think we should do, aka box-to-box goal-scoring midfielder. That is not strength. Where is this here? Losing Pierce to a travel time was a bummer too. What do you think of the atmosphere in the City ground? It did sound electric. Absolutely. I think that absolutely helped you. We're the 12th man today by an abundance. Support was loud. It really was. Jacob Suchek was poor and should have scored 2 headers. Not good enough in the next level. Absolutely. Headers really weren't good. What was the chance? Did it hit the bar? Or was it a save and it parried back out to Suchek? That anyone you would want on the end of that header would be Tommy Suchek. It was a great save for Henderson. Henderson kept them in this game today, 100%. Atmosphere at the City ground was immense. They can make a racket from what I've heard. Could hardly hear the 3,000 hammers. We might not have to deal with Mapai and Cucurella. And if Mapai gets sold, then obviously Cucurella is gone. So they're lacking in the left back. Moyes is limited and predictable. The middle of the park is not the problem today. Lady Luck and rubbish officials were. Yeah, absolutely. If Benny was our best player, we're in trouble. Goldfish and Sully. Could you imagine that? Lano was on the pitch to take the penalty. Was he? Was Lanzini on? He would have, taken it. He'd been on for the definite. He's typically our best penalty taker. We were just terribly unlucky today. Corny should have started on the left to give us an actual width and bounce, but Moyes stuck Fornals out wide, and the goal was a fluke. We all know Benny's capable of the best like today and the worst, right? I still think we will bounce back soon. It will be fine. I agree with you, Pavan. Sorry for laughing at people saying we will beat Brighton. Have you lot got short memories? Bloody chips stealing. It's so true though, but I do think we can bounce back. I really do. I think we can. I think we can beat them, especially when they are losing players, etc. But Scamacca and Corny and any new signings we've got can really make a difference. If they're players that come in and need to start, then I think we can as well. Arsenal lost their first 3 games last season. Look how they finished. Jacob says, came off the bar, then Suchek sent ahead of the way the keeper was going. Very, very poor. Mandy G, we had 2 shots to the underside of the crossbar, 1 shot cleared off the line, 1 goal ruled out, and 1 penalty missed, and 2 glaring misses. Absolutely. Listen, I'm going to be going very soon, so you've got your last chance to come on. I'm going to give it, if you do come on, I've had 3 people attempt to come on and couldn't do it. So if you are watching, click that link now, and you're going to get 1 minute say. 1 minute say. Come and get your last opinion in as well. Tommy, I know you've just joined the chat, so click the link, mate. Come in and give me your say. I know you'll have a lot to say if you can. Best signing we can make is Nottingham Forest recruitment team is the guy I've still got sending polite letters by snail mail. Brighton have never beaten Man United away. Nobody is saying we'll beat Brighton. It's an if we were saying how different our season can be in 2 games' time. If Antonio starts ahead of Scamacca against Brighton, Moyes has generally lost the plot. Hi, Tommy. Positive, Tommy. We play spot the crackhead on the way to work being in Tottenham of late. True, Tommy. Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, wasn't impressed with Declan Rice's performance today. Brennan Johnson, that was him celebrating the goal that was obviously disallowed for Nottingham Forest. We got away with that one. That was lucky. I think this yellow card, did have a slight knock-on effect to Declan Rice's game today. It put him on the back burner. The fans did carry the fake notes. So that obviously was something that the fans said. I'm going to bring on Tommy. Tommy, let's hear your not so positivity voice.
That was just an incredibly frustrating game. You know, on another day we score 4 goals and we get a comfortable win. It wasn't a great performance. I'm not suggesting that. There were too many players really that didn't show up, including our 2 England internationals. Unfortunately, you know, the 2 best players on that pitch were in West Ham shirts, and neither of them turned up. Really, Rice, I thought, had a poor game. You know, I think that yellow card so early really curtailed him. He had to be extremely careful after that. You know, his position requires him to be very robust, to be physical, to get the challenges in. And once he got that yellow card, he had to be very, very careful, and it just limited his ability to do what he does best. It kind of took him out of the game a little bit, unfortunately. And Bowen, unfortunately, our other England international, great player as well for us, just was astonishing last season. Our best player, I thought, last season. Just unfortunately wasn't at it today either. And when you've got the 2 best players on the park wearing your jersey and neither of them turn up, it doesn't help your chances of winning the game. You know, I suppose the one player really that turned up big time today was Ben Rama. He had a great game, and I just feel like if we had just had even another couple of players that had performed at the same level as Ben Rama, it may have turned the game our way.
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's small margins that wins West Ham that game today. You know, it is deeply unfortunate that, I mean, I think we hit the crossbar twice. I think they cleared the ball off the line 3 or 4 times. We had a goal disallowed and missed the penalty. So, you know, in any other day, we would have put those balls in the back of the net. And like you said, if we had 2 or 3 of players performing at a similar level to Ben Rama, it was a difference. And maybe it's easy for me to say, it's easy for us to turn around and say, Scamacca starts, Cornet starts, we win that game. It doesn't essentially mean that, but it gives us a different outlet. Tommy, what's your thoughts, though, on the same team borderline starting for another season in a new season? You know, surely the opposition look at that and can pinpoint, you know, what tactics Moyes is going to do, what formations he's going to play when he switches it up, what these players are going to do. Surely they have done enough due diligence and enough homework from last season and the year before, when you see 11 players that are very familiar to the world of Premier League football.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really disappointing thing. You know, that not a single new signing started that game. You know, it's kind of a crazy situation, really. Second game of the season. There's only a couple of weeks left in the transfer window. Okay, the Aguerd injury is unfortunate. I think he certainly would have started. But to have a fully fit Cornet and Scamacca on the bench, you know, Scamacca was brought in, you know, essentially to score goals, because it's something, unfortunately, for all his endeavour that Antonio just doesn't do. And one of our glaring problems last season was no goals coming from Antonio, really. And you know, Scamacca was brought in for big money and with quite a good reputation. You know, an Italy international, scored 16 goals for Sassuolo last season. You know, looks like he can be a handful for defenders, and he knows where the net is. And, you know, for him to still not start against a team like Forest, with all due respect to them, you know, I still think they'll be towards the lower end of the table all season. From what I've seen today, they're not a great side, Forest. They're really not. No. They were very open in the middle of the field. They could be got at defensively. So I thought this would have been a perfect opportunity to give Scamacca his head and say, right, introduce yourself to the Premier League. You know, let him off the leash. You know, Antonio, obviously a very popular character, but character isn't going to win you games. He just doesn't score goals. And unfortunately, these days, I think because he's so frustrated that he can't do what he wants to do and what he'd like to do, he spends most of his time on his arse complaining at the ref because he hasn't gotten a free kick because the centre-back's roughing him up a bit. You know, I think Antonio's had his time as a starter at West Ham. He's given great service, but I think now it's time for Scamacca. So I was very disappointed that Moyes has gone with the same old, even though he had those options. You know, Cornet, obviously another player in. I would have loved to have seen him and Benrahma start. Like, I didn't put out my team like I normally do on Twitter this morning because I was kind of busy this morning. But in the team in my head had had Cornet starting on the left and Benrahma at the number 10, because I thought this is a game where you don't really need Fornells. You know, you're not going to be under the cosh defensively for long periods. You know, Forest will play an open game of football. We already have Royce and Souček, you know, shielding the back four, so we hardly need Fornell's endeavour as well. You know, we can kind of go at these guys and open them up and try and score some goals. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity for Moyes to be a bit more expansive and to get after these guys, because the 3 points were there for us. But unfortunately, Moyes, as usual, is just very cautious manager. He doesn't like to take chances and go for games. So that was the really disappointing thing for me. I would have had Benrahma and Cornet. I think these guys were there to be got at today, and that might have made a big difference to us. And if Scamacca had played 90 minutes or close to it, maybe he's not fully match fit, surely even in that weather you get 70 minutes out of him. And then perhaps someone like Antonio coming on fresh 70 minutes in against tiring defenders in that heat, maybe then he could really have an impact.
I think you've made a valid point there, though, about, you know, all the players potentially that should have been there. And do you think Moyes respected Forest too much? There's a difference between respecting the opposition and then setting up to, you know, like you said, Rice, Souček and Fornals, in theory, makes you think that maybe he's respected the opposition too much and thought, we know, like, for example, we know what Lingard's capable of doing. Moyes knows what Lingard's capable of doing. So maybe he set up thinking, if Lingard performs today, we're going to ram that midfield, let him have to come through Fornals, Rice, Souček, the defence before he even gets there. But obviously we know he's not firing on all cylinders to be able to do that. So did he respect the opposition too much?
I think he did. And if that was his thinking, like what you were just alluding to, I mean, that's laughable. Yeah. Absolutely laughable. You know, to have a player like Lingard and to base your entire tactical approach around that when you've already got 4 defenders and 2 defensive midfielders sitting in front. It's just typical Moyes. He's cautious. He's too cautious. And like I say, against Forest, like, you don't need to do that. This is a game where you can be a little more adventurous and get, you know, really attacking more flair players onto the pitch and really have a go at Forest. That's the disappointing thing for me, that Moyes. It's the one thing that frustrates. Well, there's a few things that frustrate me about him, but this is one of the ones that frustrates me the most. In the games where our opposition play a more open, expansive kind of game, and they're not, you know, a great team. They're like bottom half of the table team, where we can go out and impose ourselves. But we're a better team than Forest. We've got better players than Forest, and sometimes you just have to go out there with that attitude. We're better than you. We've got better players than you. We're an established Premier League team who, you know, played in Europe last season, finished 6th and 7th, playing Europe again this season. We're going to go up there with our better players, and we're going to beat you. Yeah. And I just wish Moyes would take that attitude sometimes. And I don't mean that in a complacent way. You know, you still set yourself up properly, and you make sure that the players are. You don't say that to your players, obviously, but you don't want them to be complacent. You still drill it into them. You know, you expect the work rate, and you expect them to get at these guys and have a go and for everything to be done right. But you're in your own mind, the way you set the team up. You know, today that should be your attitude, that we're going to go score goals against these guys. We're going to beat them. Because we're better than them. We've got better players all over the park. Forest, for all their signings, I mean, you can see today they're a bang average side. I mean, there was so much space in the midfield. I mean, it was so open in the middle of the park. You know, how often was a player received a pass in the middle of the field and is just bombing forward? There's no one within an ass's roar of him. You know,
absolutely. Tommy, stay here. I'm going to bring on another guest. Josh, how are you? Hope you're well. Good to see you.
Good. Thanks for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay, mate. Okay, yeah, we can. Right. So we've been talking a lot, so go over to you, mate. What do you think?
No, I think that all the points are, I mean, I echo all of them. I think for me, the biggest concern is that, well, it's twofold. I mean, firstly, we never press as a team. It's baffling to me. You know, you watch all other teams in the Premier League and everyone presses as a unit. We press individually and then teams play through us. And I'm not sure what's happening in training, but that's something that's very concerning to me. And then the other thing is we show zero composure on the ball. We can't ever seem to string multiple passes together. It's crazy. We just go long at all instances.
I think
never any calm.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this comment. Did I get it here? It's like watching in slow motion sometimes. I feel like we've been calling for pace for such a long time, and even when we do play well, we are sometimes slow in the uptake about playing well, and I think that's the difference, is the composure on the ball. I think Souček, I'm holding my hands up here by saying I've been a fan. I think he got wrongfully torn to shreds last season. I understand where people's mindsets were coming from, but I couldn't justify sticking up for him today because he was dispossessed from the ball a lot. Players were skipping by him a lot. And I think today highlighted the fact that why David Moyes wants to strengthen in that area. And I think you're right, the composure wasn't there, and we definitely were in slow motion. But to you, Josh, then the question is, it's such a big couple of weeks now with the transfer window just around the corner. What do we need to get things running properly?
Well, I mean, I might be slated for this, but I don't necessarily think that new players are the answer. And I guess we see that today. The proof is in the pudding, because Moyes has new players and he's not playing them. So I think that we need to go back to basics. I think there needs to be a shift within the team. I think that, Souček has to be taken out of the firing line. And I think that the midfield needs to go back to being a robust unit. I think that's a critical component. I think that we have obviously defensive frailties, and strengthening at the back is hugely important. But ultimately, what's going to happen is we're going to get another centre back, and then everyone's going to become fit, and we're going to have 6 fit centre backs. So it's a kind of a catch-22. I mean, I'd like to see an injection of pace in the team. Having said that, brings that injection. Sorry, have you still got me?
Yeah, no, we're back. Yeah, you're back.
Okay, cool. I think Cornet brings that injection of pace. And I think that once we get another centre back alongside Zuma, however long that's going to be, we can put Johnson back out to the wing, and that will kind of satisfy what we need in the short term. Obviously, Creswell is problematic, but if we can get a left back in, then great. But I just don't. It's great to say this is what we want and this is what we need, but who is out there and who is available? That's the other question. And Moyes is so he's so set on the kind of players that come into this team, and it's beyond just playing capabilities. It's the mentality and wanting to play in his system, that it's just a very limiting approach to transfers. So
I think there's a part of what you say, like, I totally agree with, in terms of I don't think Moyes' transfer policy is going to change because of this result today. And that might frustrate many fans, but I don't think it will. But what I would have thought would have gone on behind the scenes with Rob Newman is that they've identified the players that they definitely want. I don't think there's a knee-jerk reaction. And I think that what they need to do differently is get the deal or deals done quicker or quickly, because like you said, Josh, and Tommy, you can come to you in a second, but I don't know if a new signing right now. I want a couple of new signings. We need fresh faces. We need strength and depth. But I don't think a new signing coming this week, unless it's a Gallagher-ish type player or a Broja or a centre-half who's top-notch, who's going to knock one of our centre-halves off the pedestal, is going to come straight into that team. It's just going to be about change in formation, change in tactics, and Moyes just needs to get, or Newman or Sullivan and Gold need to get these deals done for Moyes to get the players in the door that he wants, so they can work in unity. Because I think what we've lacked, what other teams, I don't know, I don't want to say other teams, but I'm going to use Arsenal, for example. even though Gabriel Jesus took a while, he's still in their door a lot earlier than what we have had these players. He's still getting a preseason under his belt. He's still having game time. He's getting used. And I can use Gabriel Jesus as an example because West Ham were and Arsenal were in lockerheads for most of season last season, trying to progress up that campaign. Tommy, what do you think from what's been said?
There's a lot to digest there. As regards signings, I think it's actually a disgrace that Ben Johnson had to start this game at centre back today. We've known for some time that we need a centre back. We've known for quite a while now Aguero's situation. We've known for some time that Ogbonna was still a ways off. We've known that Dawson is injured. We've known Diop is for sale and wanted out the door. It was bad enough that we had to start the season against City with Johnson at centre back. That was far from ideal, but it's unforgivable to me that Johnson had to play at centre back again today. We've had more than enough time to get a centre back in that we can put in beside Zuma. This should not be happening. Something is wrong behind the scenes, frankly, in the way we're doing our transfer business, that Johnson had to play again at centre back today. That's incompetence in my book. That should not have happened whatsoever. And you could see he was struggling. And I feel bad for Johnson because he's not a centre back. He just isn't. And you can see he's not a centre back. He's essentially trying to learn a new position as a young lad who's still trying to establish himself in his correct position, who's still relatively inexperienced. And I think, we shouldn't be asking him to do that. So I feel kind of sorry for him. So that's the first thing. As regards what we need between now and the window closing, agree largely with what Josh is saying. We certainly need a left back who will displace Cresswell. The aforementioned centre back has to be signed. We need a central midfielder and a really, really good one who can play alongside Rice because Souček just isn't getting it done, I'm afraid. His form has been too bad for too long. We've only played 2 games this season. He's been very poor in both. So we can't put this down to the excuse we gave last season of tiredness or burnout because he played so many games. We're only 2 games in. He's been really poor in both. He has to be replaced. We can't keep starting Souček. It's too much of a handicap for us now. I'm not saying necessarily sell him. I think we should keep him around. I think he'll still be a very useful squad player. But we've got to replace him. Those 3 positions are absolutely vital to fill, first and foremost, and quickly, very quickly. But as regards squad depth, I think we ideally, I would love to see like a proper number 10 come in. I think, if we've got the likes of Corney and Benrahma there, I think a number 10 who's a real kind of string puller, who's really technically good on the ball, great passer, good vision, who can just orchestrate everything in that area of the park around the middle of the field. I think that would make a big difference. And ideally, we should really have a third choice striker just in case, because what's happened right now with the centre backs can just as easily happen with forwards. And at the moment, we only have 2. But I don't know if Burton Diaz is still on the cards for us. I think that would be absolutely fine as a third choice striker. We don't need to spend big money on a player who'll probably be unhappy as a third choice anyway. Burton Diaz would come in. He'd be quite happy to be in the team, be in the matchday squad, get whatever minutes he gets in cup games or whatever, and play a cameo role. He'd just be happy to be at West Ham, I think. So, we've got to get our finger up, but we shouldn't be in this position whatsoever. No. We're so ponderously slow at getting our business done. There is no excuse for it. I mean, the window's been open for a long time. We should have these players in, playing in pre-season games, getting up to speed and being ready to go at the start of the season. We shouldn't be going to Forest in our second game with the same 11 players we had here last season. It is genuinely, to me, even with Rob Newman there now, I don't know what the hell is going on behind the scenes. To me, it is unfortunately still a real problem at our club. It's incompetence in my book. And I don't use that word lightly. I know it's a strong word. But I think the situation we're in can only be explained by incompetence.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, any last words? And before you even give us your last words, can you let us know where you're watching from, and why West Ham? Because you've obviously never been on the channel before. So
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, and I started following West Ham a long time ago. It's a long story, but I didn't want to follow a top team, so I chose West Ham.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
Good man. No, absolutely. Any final words then you want to add then, Josh?
I think, I mean, obviously a lot has been said. Ben Rama was fantastic today. I think that's great, but it's a shame that it's an anomaly, and B, it was only him. Like sorry, I can't remember your gentleman's name. Tommy. I think Tommy said this. If 2 or 3 other players were kind of at his level, then it would be game over. And I went to watch them play against City last week, and what stood out to me was the fear that they came to the game with. This is the opening game of the season at the London Stadium, and they were fearful, albeit against Man City. Okay, I understand. But they took that same fear into today's game. And I think that Moyes approaches these games with fear and trepidation. And something has to shift. He has to go into these games with a confidence and a will and a desire and the push for them to go and take the game. I'm in the midst of watching the All or Nothing with Arteta, and I didn't ever think much of Arteta. And obviously all of this stuff could be fabricated and made up, whatever you want. But the way that he inspires his team before the kickoff is just incredible. I mean, that's what Guardiola does. It's what all the top managers do. And maybe Moyes doesn't manage in that way, but we come out every game lethargic and with no desire and no fight. And I think that is ultimately what has to change. I think if you come out against a team like Nottingham Forest in their home stadium and say, hey, we are the Premier League team here, and you put them on the back foot and you put a couple of goals in, then everything goes silent and the rest of the game is smooth. But we don't do that. We just sit back, we allow the other team to play their game until it's too late. And then he's too late to make his subs, and it's just, the game just dwindles out. So, I think that the team, we have to make changes, but I think that the team is there. I think that the manager is there. I think everything's in place, but Moyes has to be willing to modify his approach to games. I think that's ultimately the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Keep an eye out for the
Appreciate
link
it.
in the future.
Awesome.
Good to speak to you, and we'll hopefully
Cheers.
speak to you soon, mate. Take it easy.
Okay, lovely.
Cheers for that.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Tommy, you can, there's a few comments we'll go through if you don't mind staying on. Forest fan here, always had respect for West Ham as a traditional top flight club. Yes, you had some bad luck today. I get a feeling a lot of West Ham fans are hating on Forest since we signed Jesse Lingard. Well, I'll give you my opinion on that. I think that's just a social media thing. I think it's just a minority. I think, I was a fan that wanted Lingard at the club. I didn't particularly like the way he conducted himself on social media on the lead up to signing for one of us, or what we were all led to believe was West Ham. However, I don't hate the guy, and yeah, I don't think people hate Nottingham Forest because of that. So I think that's just a social media opinion on that. Same as you, Tommy.
Yeah, of course. Look, the Lingard thing obviously was a big social media thing. I think if you were to poll West Ham fans, there's no bitterness towards Forest whatsoever. Forest is a club I've always liked, actually, on a personal level. Always liked Forest. I was rooting for them to get promoted when they made the playoffs. They're a huge club. I've always liked them. Very big club, great history. If you were picking your ultimate ideal Premier League 20, Forest would, I think, in most people's eyes, Forest would be one of those 20.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nail on the head. Andrew saying problem is we're going in with low ball offers for players. If a club wants 20 million, we go in at 10 million with add-ons. Never going to get anywhere if we carry on in this vein. However, Andrew, I'll add to that. If you think about Onana, it's fine saying that, but the Onana deal for me is something that I think I'm glad the club knocked back, because we agreed the fee with the club, But when we went into personal negotiations, he was asking for over the odds, and I don't think it's the right thing for West Ham to do, destroying our wage structure, Tommy. I don't know what your thoughts is on the wage structure, and would you have paid Onana the 135 that it was quoted that he was looking for a week?
No, I wouldn't. I agreed with not paying Lingard what he wanted, and I agree with not paying Onana what he wants. We have to keep our wage structure in place. This isn't just about one signing right now. It's about the long-term health and future of the club. I don't want us doing an Everton and ending up just in an absolute financial mess. So when it comes to the wage structure, if we miss out on a player because we refuse to smash our wage structure, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with it. But I do take who said that? I do take his point. Andrew, yeah, I do take his point. I mean, we have been guilty of that in the past, and I think we're still guilty sometimes, of going in a bit lowball. I mean, it took a long time for us to agree that fee for Onana. That's why we don't have a midfielder right now, essentially, because it took us so long to get to the point where we could talk to Onana's agent / sister
to then find out we weren't going to pay him the money.
To realize that we weren't willing to pay him, give him the contract he wanted. So we do drag these things out, and apparently there's also this. His name escapes me at the moment. There's some player apparently we're interested in Portugal, and we've lowballed a bid on that one as well. So if we're still messing about with that, God knows, this kind of stuff has to stop. We do mess about when it comes to coming to agreements with clubs. Look, Kehrer, right? Kehrer, for example, that should have been done last week. If Moyes wanted Kehrer, we should have been able to get the fee agreed quickly, or realize we can't and move on. And then once we'd agreed a fee, we should have been able to come to some kind of agreement on the contracts early, quickly, or realize that it wasn't going to happen. We were too far apart and it was going to mess with our wage structure again, and then bin it and move on. Everything with us does seem to be protracted. And it is damaging us, unfortunately, at the start of this season. We should have more players in than we do.
Absolutely. I think I agree with this point. It feels like we're stuck in pre-season mode, and I feel like we, with the performance the performance today was an unlucky performance. I thought at times we played well. Second half, we were a good West Ham side. We were getting at them, but it was the fine margins that was defining what the result was going to be at this time. However, there is an element of pre-season-ish, and I feel like we can just dust them off our shoulders and we can try and progress forward. Then we can start to see a progressive West Ham. And I do agree with you, Tommy. It does frustrate me that we don't do business a lot earlier, because you think that they would want to do that and understand formations, tactics, fitness levels, and different options moving forward and work on that. But you're signing someone this week, 2 games into a season. It's not ideal, but a lot of teams do it. They say that usually the top 4 get their business done. Arsenal did a bit of business, Tottenham done a lot of business, Man City done their business nice and early, and Chelsea have obviously started doing their business as well. And to be fair, this is the right answer. Their keeper is class. He was class today. He saved them today, as did their defender who handled the ball, of course, as well. But their keeper,
I accept that. Henderson's a tremendous keeper. I think I think he's a great keeper. I was very surprised United sold him, to be honest. And yeah, he played very well today for them. We expect that from Henderson. But having said that Souček header he shouldn't have been given a prayer with. Yeah. That should have been buried. Henderson should have had no chance to save that. Rice's penalty, a better penalty taker doesn't give him a chance to save the pen.
No, yeah.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah, right. Bob Jones says, thought West Ham were unlucky today from a Forest fan. Thank you very much. So easy to say we should have got players in early, but maybe these players didn't want to sign in July. We're forgetting after season players are on holiday if there's not on international duty. Everton fans always said Moyes' problem is that he's always taking a knife to a gunfight when facing the better side. You can see why. I do worry Bowen's head has been turned. He needs to pick up where he left off from last season. I don't think his head has been turned. I think he's just going to take a while to kick back into gear. I think when he kicks back into gear, we'll be looking back at these games, hopefully. I'm
not sure. I'd like Hammerett to elaborate on that. What does she mean, head turned?
I think she means by. I think I think earlier in the season there was links to Liverpool, and I think
I
could. Yeah, I know. I think Happy could be alluding to that. You correct me if I'm wrong, Happy, if that's what you kind of are alluding to.
No, I'm sure Bowen is going to be absolutely determined to be on the plane to Qatar. He can't afford to be playing crap between now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to see Forest finish above Man United and Spurs. I wanted them to stay up originally, but after the Lingard bollocks, I want them relegated. Nah, come on. Calm the beans. Onana is on 80k a week. Is he? I thought he was on a lot more. I mean...
No, look, it's... See, this is where the confusion comes in. The same with Lingard. Like, as Forest, they tell you, oh yeah, Lingard's on 80k a week. Of course we would have paid Lingard 80k a week. It's not just about the weekly wage. The reason they're structuring it in a certain way, so the signing on fee is massive.
Yeah.
So that's where they're saying we want, wages of this much per week, and they're saying, well, look, keep the other players happy, so we don't look like we're messing with our wage structure. We'll pay you this per week officially, but your signing on fee is going to be these millions and millions and millions to make up the difference over the course of the contract. So Lingard got a massive amount of money for signing on, like millions and millions, which makes up the difference in the wages per week that he was looking for. So officially they're giving 80k Everton, but I promise you that contract is worth a lot more than just the 80k a week to Onana.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's probably massive bonuses and everything in there. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, that brings an end to the review. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've not really enjoyed it as such. I don't even know why I said hope you've enjoyed it, because nobody can enjoy getting a defeat against any team. So, join us tomorrow. I think there's a grumble, a West Ham grumble in the morning where Alf comes in and gives us strong, miserable opinions as usual in the morning. So check that out and join us for the daily tomorrow. Tommy, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you on soon when we get to launch some of the new stuff we've got coming up for this season. The usual malarkey, subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. And heads up, Viborg next, Tommy. Viborg next. Get a win, have some positivity, go into the Brighton game. And I said earlier on, if you can win Viborg and you can beat a team you've never beaten in the Premier League, let's not forget this. We have never beaten Brighton in the Premier League, but if we can turn that around and beat them this weekend, then we've got rid of that one voodoo, and you then start to see a little bit of positivity, and that's what Moyes must be saying to these players today.
And the pressure is on, and the pressure is on a bit now to do that.
Yeah,
a point. If we'd beaten Forest today, a point against Brighton wouldn't look too bad, but a point against Brighton now is not going to look really good enough. I mean, there's a bit of pressure on Moyes and the players now to get a win in this game and get our season up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, stay safe, and we'll see you back over the next couple of days. Take it easy, and come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree.